Most of the time, it's going to be, hey, boss, you told me to do this thing. Help me understand why. Oh, you know what? I should have told you that. I forgot. Sorry, I got so much going on right now. And they explain why, and you're done. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts. Quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I am the founder of Forward Partners, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily Grace Deal, what are we talking about today?
We have a quote today.
All right, let's dive in.
He who has a why can endure any how, said by Nietzsche.
He who has a why can endure any how. We spend so much time on the hows, don't we?
Yes.
We spend so much time on the, here's the thing we're going to do. How are we going to get it done? We spend very little time on the why.
Yeah.
But it is the key. It's funny to me. There's always themes. We record these batches of episodes 20 at a time. It's a really long day for us. It's always funny how there's a theme that emerges in each batch. I think in this batch, it's, boy, that's such a simple idea.
Right.
Boy, we really suck at that.
Right. Saying the simple things out loud, and we're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we should actually do those things. And it's funny to me how often we don't. And the why is a big piece of that. I think I've referenced before that this last year I read the book Extreme Ownership. And it's a book, like I said before, I've kind of avoided because it was written by Navy SEALs. And God bless the Navy and the Navy SEALs. My son was in the Navy. But I kind of assumed the take on leadership was going to be just run harder into the wall and eventually it's going to fall over. And that was not the take. I was finally humble enough to get over myself and read it. And the take was really, there's a lot of wisdom in there. And one of the biggest things they talk about is the why. And it's two sides to this. First, as the leader, our job is to always provide the why. With everything we do, the why has to be there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side is the employee or the team member. When we don't have the why, our job is to go get it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've talked in a couple of previous episodes about helping people learn how to have these conversations, these difficult conversations, and how to open up. And so why is a piece of that. To go to a leader who's given us something to do and didn't bring the why and say, hey, help me understand this. I need the why.
I think a big piece of this is that we have seen in the past a lot of this is like a lot of the vulnerability and a lot of the mushy parts are these parts that are like we think that it's going to take so much longer to wrestle through that. And sometimes it will. Yeah. But I think it's so much more practical than most people think.
Oh, yeah.
If you can point out the why, that how, right, is way more easy to get through. Yeah. And it's like if we think that we're going to cut this emotional or vulnerable piece out or this piece of that we think is going to take that much more time and we'll just push through the other side, that's not how it works.
It ends
up
actually takes more time.
It's this back to the hard conversations we just had.
Yeah.
Getting through those. It's so much worse when we sit and like don't do it. You're actually processing way more than you think, and it's the same with this.
It absolutely
If you don't answer the why questions, then you're just like muscling through the rest of it.
Well, and the interesting part is sometimes it will be a wrestle. It will be a hard conversation. Most of the time, it's going to be, hey, boss, you told me to do this thing. Help me understand why. Oh, you know what? I should have told you that. I forgot. Sorry, I got so much going on right now. And they explain why, and you're done. And you have solved so many potential problems and helped them avoid so many landmines just with that one quick conversation. And so it's establishing that conversation needs to happen, that my number one job is to bring the why. Your number one job is to come get the why. And ultimately, we're going to meet in the middle because I'm not going to be perfect every time. You're not going to be perfect every time. But if we're both kind of moving to that middle of why, we're going to hit it more often than not.
Definitely. I really like that because like it's not sitting expecting the other person, well, they didn't tell me, I'll just wait here until they do.
Yes. It is everybody moving to a central point that we have agreed really deeply matters. And even the quote, he who has a why can endure any how, the reality is if we agree on the why, you can even disagree on the how, but you're still probably going to go do it. You may be grumbling a little bit, but you understand why it matters.
It's
and
important.
Like, okay, I'm going to go do this the way they asked me to because we agree on why it matters.
Instead of just avoiding the how at all costs because you don't understand the why.
Or moving slower or just all these problems it creates. This basic concept trips us up so often when we don't fully agree on the why. because we're just not providing it. Nobody's talking about it. And yet it should be. We talk about this all the time with younger generations. They're asking why, and the older generations are going, who are you to question me?
You don't need that.
You don't question me.
Don't question my authority.
We all need the why. We need it. Like, as the older generation, I promise you I needed it. It
and
was
the
just
only
kind of
reason you
beaten out
have
of
that
me.
thought is because, you were told to not ask.
Exactly. I was told not to ask. Just shut up and do it. And that's how our generation generally functions.
And, well, I tell this to my kid all the time, too, because I think in our house it's important for us. We don't do the because I said so.
Yeah. And then you're a better parent than I am.
Unless it's like the stove. Like,
Right.
the stove is hot because I said don't touch it, don't touch it. If you're going to learn the hard way, that's your choice, but because I said so.
Even then, that's a great example, because it's easy for us to default to, well, because I said so. But to go to the why every time. Why can't I touch the stove? Well, because it's really going to hurt
It's
you.
hot.
Like, it's going to cause damage, and we might have to take you to the hospital. Okay, great. 2 days later. Hey, why can't I touch the stove? Well, because it's going to hurt you. It's going to cause damage. We might take you to the hospital.
Exactly.
Like, that's part of how we learn, is that constant repetition. And so if we're always talking about the why, it makes a massive difference.
It's really important that we explain. I mean, there is a why, and we just have to explain it. Now, the fourth and fifth time that I have said it and they do not quite understand,
Because mom said so.
that comes out. But
That is very, very fair. I think this is just such an interesting idea, because at the human level, we need the why. And like almost everything else we wrestle with, it's, are we taking care of what the human needs to go be productive and not just focused on productivity?
Right.
I think this is a big one. Leaders, let's talk next steps. When you are taking your team anything, make sure the why is included. Make sure the why is clear and that they can understand it. It is one of the most vital jobs you have, is to bring the why every time. And for your team, empower them to come get the why. Again, like last time, we talked about how clarity is such a big goal. And if they bring you questions, you can't get frustrated they're bringing you questions, because you're trying to teach them it's a strength, not a weakness. This is the same way. When they come ask why, you can't get irritated about it, because it's clear if they're asking why, you didn't do an adequate job bringing the why. And so we're both working in that central direction together. You bring the why as often as you possibly can. They ask for the why whenever they don't see it. And together, we're going to be able to move forward together. This is such a basic idea, but is absolutely going to unlock new things for your team. I promise you. Emily, thank you for bringing this. If people want to send us more quotes for us to kind of dissect it through the leadership lens, where do they send that to?
to lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find content online, where we are putting out all the time on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, where do they find us?
At Forward Partner.
At Forward Partner on all those platforms. Emily, thank you for this conversation.
Thank
I
you.
love talking about this. Thank you, John, for producing. And we will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.